All right, how y'all doing? It's December, which means it's December pickups. We finally caught up on all of the orders that have been separated. So in theory, this is the last of all of the things that we've ordered over the last year, over the last few months. They're finally all here. Starting with, and this is going to be a weird one, something that we ordered from Kickstarter, from Genki, months ago. Genki is a gaming hardware-ish company. The Sire Carry, which is a pretty neat little sling bag. Notice it's a bit stuffed. It's got a neat little trick, which we're going to have to cover first. It's this clasp, right? Easy, magnet. Slip it, and then reattach it. What that's for is this zip here, right? The idea is that you don't actually have to unzip the entire bag to get your system out. You just unzip this little bit and then you just kind of like, you just yank and your console comes out. So I've got my Steam Deck in there. What we'll do is, what have I got in my Sire Carry bag? So we've got the Genki Shadowcast Pro, which is a 4K 60 capture card from Genki. This isn't one of the pickups, it's just something I shoved in the bag. The cables for the Shadowcast Pro. We've got this neat little Genki power plug. It's really thin, right? 2 USB-C, it's 100 watts, but the downside is it's got this massive chonker of universal adapter on it. Then we've got 100 watt USB-C to C cables for the Genki power adapter. They're quite nice. I don't actually know if they're rated for anything outside of 100 watts, like if they're just USB 2, but they're nice. I use those a lot. That came from the Kickstarter. Then we've got the Shadowcast 2, which is a USB-C HDMI capture card. Really like this one. I got this with the Shadowcast Pro. That didn't come from this particular Kickstarter. More cables, HDMI and USB-C. Also Genki branded, because they come with one of my favourite bits of kit that Genki have ever released, the Genki Covert Dock. Also with one of those really annoying universal travel adapters on it. It's just too big. It's so big, it takes up so much space in the bag, but that's fine. Tiny USB-C cable, C to C. This one is data and power and all the gumph. That comes up with something really cool in a minute. Genki's own version of 8BitDo's SN30 Pro. I really like this one because I was just keyed at the top. On all of the other 8BitDo pads, you have to look on the back of the pad, on the label for the keys that you have to press to put it into certain modes. In this one, they're all nicely keyed on the top. So you press start and you press a button and it goes into whatever game mode you want. Really nice pad. Now I've got a Sire Tab, which is Genki's answer to like the Apple trackers. And the cool bit that goes with the really tiny USB cable is the save point. This is a 2 terabyte magnetic SSD. These two little ridges here are magnets. And you can use these to attach to stickers to like the back of your laptop, to the back of your Steam Deck. It's really cool. So the idea being you use that really short little cable and you just kind of go like plonk on the back and you've got all this extra storage. It's really cool, tucked out of the way. I'll be honest with you, that was the main reason I got all of this kit. That's basically everything I've got in my Sire Carry. Not just everything we picked up in the Kickstarter, but that's all of it. That's everything. So, back in November, I mentioned I picked up some Retrobit Sega Saturn gamepads, and they had an unfortunate accident with coffee. So, I found that 8BitDo were doing a sale for some other Saturn-themed stuff. And so, instead of picking up more Retrobit pads, which are fantastic, by the way, I decided I would grab 8BitDos as replacements. I grabbed a 2.4 gigahertz version and a Bluetooth version because they don't have kind of a universal all-in-one like the retro bits. A tad unfortunate, however, 8BitDo have released a really neat little dongle that you can use to pair your pad to a Saturn. The dongle connects to the Saturn in the control pad port, and then you pair the pad to the dongle and the Saturn sees it as a regular Saturn pad. Really cool. Now, these arrived at a fantastic time because I've been waiting. I put in an order on a Japanese auction site for a bunch of Sega Saturn stuff. I went a little overboard. I ended up with multiple Saturns, memory cards, a few games, Virtual Cop, and a visual novel. I don't have any way to directly catch Saturn footage at this point, and I don't have a disk drive to rip the images to get footage from any other way. So take my word for it, they're really cool. To go along with the Saturn stuff though, because they are Japanese, they're region locked. So I grabbed myself a Saru. A Saru is, I suppose, a flash cut and an optical disc emulator. Optical disc emulator basically being something that allows you to load disc images off of it rather than having to put discs into a drive. It's also got extra stuff on it, so you can use it as a memory card, you can use it as a RAM cartridge, and you can also use it to remove the region lock from your Saturn, because as long as the Saru's in there, you can load games from any region you like. Like I said, big bundle of Saturn stuff from Japan. I was so excited with this one, I completely forgot to grab any footage of it. This is the power supply next to the thing that I picked up. This is a USB-C drop-in replacement for the Sega Saturn power supply. Sega Saturns in Japan run on like 110 volts. We run on 230 volts here. By just literally opening up the case, swapping out the power supply and flipping a switch on the board, I can now run my Sega Saturn off of a USB-C power bank. No step-down converters or anything. The hardest part of this install is this weird little plastic piece that you have to basically put over the back where the USB-C port is. Here, the hardest part is literally just screwing these things in because the plastic isn't threaded. But once that's done, amazing. Really quick, really simple, couple-minute install. Right? Pair that with my Saru, and then with my 8BitDo controller adapter, and I'm practically in heaven at this point. I love the Saturn, and to have a fully functioning Saturn back in the house again after all these years is just amazing. Saturn being, and I've said this story millions of times, the first console I ever bought with my own money, and also the first console I ever managed to lose. Having one back in my collection again, fully functional, amazing. Brilliant. Now this one's going to be a what the hell? Okay, we got a Retroid Pocket 5. Did you not have a Retroid Pocket Mini before? Yes, I still have it. I ordered them both at the same time. They got separated. Finally got them through together. Which one do I recommend? Do I recommend one over the other? No, they're basically the exact same handheld, except this thing runs at 16 by 9 and has 2 gigs more of RAM. So this is 16 by 9 versus 4 by 3 by default. And it's got 2 more gigs of RAM. Functionally, performance-wise, identical in every way, unless you're doing something that needs a bit more RAM. If you need more RAM, this is going to be the one to go for. Otherwise, realistically, same kind of groove, just this one is bigger and plays things in 16 by 9 wide by default. We're going back onto a Saturn theme, and I said 8BitDo were selling some Saturn themed stuff. Well, just randomly scrolling the socials, I found that 8BitDo had released a Sega Saturn themed, like 30th anniversary of the Sega Saturn mechanical keyboard. They do one for like Nintendo and Commodore and all that kind of stuff. But they did a Saturn theme one, and I was like, okay, I'm going to get one of these. And that's what made me pull the trigger on the control pads. Very little really to say that it is Saturn, other than you got some Saturn coloured buttons, and then it says Saturn 30th Anniversary Limited Edition on the top. The only thing to really make note that it is a Saturn Limited Edition is that the spacebar has been marked with a print number out of 1994, the release of the Sega Saturn. They've released 1,994 of these keyboards, and I've got like 1,700 some odd. But that's also nice because we got hold of a new computer. We needed a small machine to tuck behind a TV in the living room. Apple have just released their M4 Mac Mini. It's super tiny. It's quite powerful. We figured, why not? I actually made a nice trade for this, an iPad Mini for a Mac Mini. And after getting that, we also upgraded to an iPhone 16 Pro Max from an iPhone 13 Mini. I like minis. And because I went from Lightning to USB-C, we had to upgrade the control pad grip that I use, which is a Backbone 1, to the USB-C version. This is a version 2 Backbone. It fits really nicely on the iPhone 16 Pro Max, and whilst it's got a big old beefy case on it, this is the Quad Lock case from Quad Lock. So if you're wondering if you could get this to go together like a big old chunking case, like how big is the chunky case that you can get on this thing? Quad Lock's pretty much as big as you're going to get. It fits all right. I don't know if they still do auto boxes, but it should fit quite nicely. I'm not a huge fan of the 16 Pro Max. Going from the 13 Mini to the 16 Pro Max, the 16 Pro Max is too big, let's be honest. iPhone users used to laugh at Android users for the size of their phones. This thing is ridiculous. Now on to games. Christmas, right? Best gift by far. Look, Sega Saturn. My eldest son was in town and he found a copy of Daytona USA. I was so psyched. I spent Christmas Day playing this thing on the Saturn, thanks to the Saru, because as I said, my Saturn's region locked. I sat and I just played this solidly. Thankfully, my TV supported the standard output on my Saturn, so it was amazing. It was so fun. And then we got a Mr. Pie from Taki Udon. This is a clone of a Mr. FPGA triple stack. It's a fraction of the price. My boys bought me a memory card and I figured this would go quite nicely with it. So that's how I justified it, really. That, and I already own a Mr. FPGA triple stack, but this one is special. It's magical. The regular Mr. FPGA requires a barrel jack. This thing uses USB-C for power. So just like my Saturn, the Mister runs off of USB-C power banks, and I absolutely love it. That one thing is just, it makes it so much more convenient to run. It's brilliant. FPGA being a field programmable gate array, it's hardware emulation rather than software emulation. Not something I'm going to describe here, but it's just great. It plays everything up to Saturn. So, well chuffed. You're noticing a pattern. Now I'll close out with a couple of games. I don't normally mention freebies and this kind of thing, but we played it for a little while. Marvel Rivals dropped. My mates wanted to give it a go. We picked it up on PlayStation and Steam. And I don't like Marvel. I don't really like Overwatch, which this is kind of a clone of. But they do have a character called Jeff the Land Shark who, well, I love the little guy, mainly because he's a goddamn menace and he does little things like this. Beautiful. Only reason to play this game is so you control with your ultimate ability. Such a great little character. The game kind of sucks though. And the other thing we got was another freebie, Path of Exile. I linked my Path of Exile web account to my Steam account, Me and a mate went running through some of the early game in PoE. Pretty fun, but I didn't get any footage of it. But that, I think, rounds up my really flaky December pickups. I think that's everything. It might not be everything, but I've been waiting for ages for all these things to come through. They've finally all come through. I think this has probably been one of the best runs of pickups I've had in ages. You know, what a streak. Not including the one in my shorts. So exciting. But there you go. Christmas done. Everything here. I hope you're all well. Hope you've had good pickups this Christmas. And I'll see you all with a bit of luck in the next one.